Are we broadcasting? Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for the second Artist-in Residence Grant Workshop for the City of LA Department of Cultural Affairs. My name is Chris Riedesel. I'm one of the two grant associates that'll be leading this workshop for you today. I'll be leading the second half of the workshop, which is a walkthrough of the actual application form. To start off today's workshop will be my colleague Alma Guzman, who will walk through an overview of the Artist-in Residence Grant Program. And without further ado, here she is.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today is our last webinar for the Artist-in Residence Program for this year. We'll have a recording of this webinar shortly after today's presentation. As Chris mentioned, I will be going over the framework of the Artist-in Residence Program, and then we'll switch off and he'll delve deeper into the actual online application. While I'm presenting, feel free to ask any questions via the chat box. Chris will be answering any questions that you may have. So let's get started. So what is the Artist-in Residence Program? The main purpose of the AIR program is to support teaching artists who are interested in providing workshops in non-arts venues in the city of LA. The Department of Cultural Affairs awards up to 30 grants, 15 grants of $8,000 and 15 grants of $4,000 to $6,000. We try to place 2 artists in each of the 15 council districts part of the city of LA. The amount our grantees receive is based on panel rankings. Please also keep in mind that you're applying a year in advance, and that funding for this program supports projects between July 1st, 2018 and June 30th, 2019. So what can funds be used for? Your AIR grant should support workshops held in accessible facilities that are ADA compliant. Funds should be used for projects that are creative and guided by a strong artistic vision. And of course, projects that promote engagement and growth. And we're also looking for projects that result in at least one low-cost or free culminating event that is open to the community. And this is actually a requirement. We actually put this in your contract. So who's eligible to apply? First, DCA is looking for artists who are LA County residents. Second, you must have at least 2 years of experience leading workshops in your artistic discipline. And we look at your experience through a resume that you are required to attach to your application. And lastly, residency applicants must be unaffiliated with nonprofit organizations that provide similar services as those being proposed. This program is targeting independent artists that don't already have access to this kind of support. So what can't our program support? Our program can't support individuals who are students currently enrolled in degree programs. We also can't fund artists who are proposing projects that are chiefly affiliated with other nonprofits providing similar services. I mentioned this in the slide before. This program can't support projects that are hosted by organizations already receiving funds from DCA. That means that your host venues can't be DCA grantees. And funds can't support projects that provide payment to DCA employees or commissioners. So we ask that you partner with a host organization to present workshops. Our hope is that you develop a working relationship with your host, and your host venue should share your vision and goals, commit to providing donated space and services. Examples of services can be marketing support or maybe even staff time. And we'd like your space to provide, to be, I guess, ADA compliant and be accessible to the community. And your host venue should also be able to provide, help you out with outreach and be able to promote the series to the community. So demographics is really important to cultural affairs. DCA's goal with this program is to be able to provide artistic services to all 15 council districts in the city. We want all residents to have access to the benefits of arts programming. So with that said, our panelists are instructed to incentivize projects taking place in underserved districts. Our underserved districts are 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 12. And all these districts are located in 2 areas, the Valley and South LA. This is not to say that you can't apply to other areas or council districts that are part of the city of LA.
It's just more likely that should we have additional funding to provide additional artist-in-residence grants beyond what we're already planning, then we'll be looking to have more artist-in-residence grantees in those council districts that Alma has listed, because we want to provide more art services there. So it just gives you a greater opportunity to receive an artist-in-residence grant if you are proposing something in one of those underserved council districts.
And just FYI, the overserved districts, which means that these areas are overflowing with arts programming, are 1, 4, 13, and 14. And those areas are super competitive because everybody wants to provide programming there. Okay, so what is part of the application? So our application is online. The program that we use is Fluid Review. Once you register and create a username and password for yourself, you'll find that the application consists of first a cover sheet where we ask that you that you provide contact information, so name, address, phone number, artistic discipline. Then we ask you to provide more information about the project that you'd like to have funded by DCA. We'd also like a timeline, so we want to know when your project will be starting, what workshops will be part of your project, and when you think your culminating event will take place. We want a resume included in your application. We also have a budget sheet that you are required to complete. A host organization letter is required. This letter just lets us know and our panelists know that you have a working relationship with the host venue and that they are in agreement of you coming to the space and providing services. And lastly, we ask that you include an artistic work sample. So maybe a video of you hosting workshops or photos or audio. What panelists usually prefer are videos. And Chris will actually walk you through all the components of the application in just a few minutes. Okay, so as I mentioned, we do have an online grant system now. It's Fluid Review. So first, we ask that you register, you a username and password to log in. We then ask you to fill out the electronic forms and then submit the electronic forms by the deadline, which is Friday, October 27th. The deadline time is 11:59 p.m. So you have all of Friday to put finishing touches on your application. So after you submit your electronic copy, we also ask that you submit a hard copy of your application by the following Wednesday, which is November 1st. So this is the postmark date. You also have the option of coming by our office and dropping off the application. Just a warning that we are in downtown LA in a very busy area, so parking is tough. So just a little warning. More information about the application and the program and how to create a competitive application can be found on our guidelines on dcaredesign.org/AIR. I'll quickly visit that website so you can take a look at what information we have here. We have more information about cultural affairs and the mission of the Artist in Residence program, how to prepare for the application, so eligibility, grants amount, timeline, panel review process. If you'd like to look at a recording of the AIR webinar, you'll find it here under webinar schedule. Instructions on how to apply, and this is where you'll also find the link to the application under submit proposal. And then, of course, if you'd like to contact us in the next 2 weeks, feel free to call us or email us. You'll find our contact information under the contact tab. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Chris, who will walk you through the actual applications and the questions.
Thank you, Alma. It'll take us just a moment to switch from her screen to my screen. But while I'm talking, once I begin my section of the webinar, then Alma will take over responding to questions. So far, there haven't been any. I'd like to think that we are very good at informing everybody and everything they need to know, but I know that's not always the case, so feel free to ask questions. All right, I think we're on my screen now. So once you log into Fluid Review, the very first thing that you'll be asked to do is complete profile information. And you'll see edit, I think, will be your only option once you first log in. Let me show you that right now. Profile information is your basic contact information. And this will be a little confusing because I set the sample up to have samples for individual artist programs such as Artist in Residence, as well as our organizational grant program. So for individual artists such as yourself, your legal name will be your legal name that you use when you file for your annual income taxes. And then if you have a professional name that you're known by that is different from your legal name, that'll be this name right here. So let's just put in some information to match what I'm saying. So it'd be as simple as that. And then the rest of the profile information would be phone number, alternate phone number, email address. The items that are marked optional, you can leave those blank. If you don't have an alternate phone number, just enter your same phone number again. We ask for 2 different addresses. The first, actually, let's start with the second one, the physical address. We need to confirm that you are a resident of the County of Los Angeles. That's one of the eligibility requirements. So we ask for your physical address. Then we also ask for your mailing address because if you do get a grant, we want to make sure that we have the correct address to mail your grant payments to. Once you've completed your profile information, then you get to select the grant program that you want to submit an application to. You won't see anything here. You can see 3 right now because these are all in the process of being filled out. You won't see anything here until you click on View Grants. It'll take you to a different page, and you'll see these 2 grant programs that you as an individual artist can apply for. One is Artist in Residence, what we're talking about now, and the other is the COLA Master Artist Fellowship. Under Actions, you'll see a button that says either like Start Application or something similar, and that's all you need to click to start your Artist in Residence application. I am going to go back to my list here. I'll go back into the Artist in Residence application to show everyone what it looks like. Now you'll notice that each grant proposal that you start will have its own unique identifier number. It starts with GA dash and followed by 10 digits. This will be important. This will come up later. You can click on it right now to enter into your application, or you can click on Edit to enter your application. This is your control panel for your proposal. On the top, there are different tabs here. The ones that you should really know are just these 2 right here. Resources lists a couple items that you will need for your proposal. These items are available in the task list, but they're also here if you have trouble finding them. The Grants tab takes you back to here, to the main page. On the right-hand side, if you uploaded a picture, which they call a logo, it'll appear right here. And you can edit it and remove it or do whatever you want with it. This is the button for downloading the submission that you create. This will be important after you've completed your digital submission. And if you want, if you are going to have assistance in filling out this proposal, you can add members to your profile who can help you see your profile and edit it from wherever they're working from, as opposed to working side by side with you. And all you have to do is click on this to add a member. You enter the information. They'll get an email address, and they'll confirm. And once they confirm, they're able to see the proposal. Let's now look at the actual proposal. Starting on the left-hand side are the list of items that you need to complete for your Artist in Residence grant proposal. The very first item is the actual application form. And even after you've completed it, as you can see I've done, you can still edit it. So you do have, if you're able to complete everything and still have time before the deadline, you do have an opportunity to revisit what you've written and make some final tweaks before you actually submit it. Click on Edit. Now, it is important to know how to navigate the form. There are different ways to do this. The first thing that you'll see is this back button up here. This actually kicks you out of the form and takes you back to the task list. So only click this back button if you want to leave the form. The form itself for the application form has 3 pages, and to move from one page to another page within the form, if you just want to review the questions and see the information you have to provide, or if you're not yet filling in data, use this up here, the Go to 1, 2, or 3. You can click on the page you want to go to. It'll give you this question. It wants to make sure that you've saved any information that you've entered. And I've done that, so I'm going to click OK. And that jumps me to the page 3 of the application. You can go to any page using this, 1, 2, or 3. And then at the bottom of the form, there's also these buttons here to navigate. So previous page of form, next page of form. You can only use those 2 buttons if all the required information in that particular page is filled in. So I only recommend using these 2 buttons after you've completed the form and you're just doing a final review. To save data and stay on the page, you click this button here. So you can save data as you go along. You can bounce from page to page and enter information as you have it ready. Just be sure to click Save and Continue Editing when you've entered after you've entered information that you want to save. Let's go to page 1. So this still has information from my original profile. So if you change your name in your profile after you start, or change any information in the profile after you've started the application, one drawback from the system is that it only pulls from that profile when you initially open the application. So if you make any changes to your profile after you've started your application, double check this information here that is auto-filled from your profile to make sure that it is still accurate. So on the first page, much of this information will be pulled directly from what you filled into your profile. Your legal name, your professional name, your mailing address, and your residential address, your phone number, email address, web address, and your optional BAVN number. After you've reviewed your profile information to make sure it's accurate, the next thing that we want you to do is to verify where you are located within the County of Los Angeles. If you're in the City of LA, we want to know which council district that you're in. And if you don't know which council district you're in, you can click on this link here. It takes you to this application, which is on the City of LA website. You can just type in an address, and it will tell you everything you need to know about that address. And the very first thing is the council district. So here we have Council District 3, and it tells you all the other things like who all of your elected representatives are, information within the city that may be useful. But for our grant application, all you need to know is which council district that address is in. If you live within the County of LA, but outside the City of Los Angeles, we just want you to click Elsewhere in LA County, and then the city that you're located in. As you can see, for each question, after you've entered it and you want to change it, you can click Clear. Well, it didn't quite clear. It cleared off the check button, so you can pick the button you want to check and re-enter your information. This is more useful when you get to the narrative section, or your signature portion, which is on the second page. After you verified the council district or the city that you live in within the County of LA, then we want you to indicate which council district that your project will take place in, which is the council district where your host which presumably is where your host organization is based. So again, if you want to determine if you don't know which council district that is that your project will be taking place in, and by that I mean if you don't know which council district your host organization is in, click on this link and enter the address, and it'll pop up the council district. So we have 3 choices here. The first choice is your primary choice. This is your host venue that you would like most to work with. Select this as your main council district. We give you the options of selecting 2 additional alternate council districts should you be recommended for a grant, but not in the council district that you are hoping to be in. The reason this happens is all artist and resident grant proposals are scored, and the council districts are awarded highest score first. So if someone has selected the council district you want to be in and gets a higher score from you, they'll get the grant. But if you're in one of the underserved council districts that we hope to have multiple grants in, you'll have an opportunity to provide a project there, or do a project there, perhaps for a smaller grant amount, generally around $4,000, and we'll contact you and let you know, hey, you've been recommended for a grant, but not in your originally proposed council district. Would you like to do it in your alternate council district? So you're just giving yourselves more opportunities to receive a grant by selecting alternate council districts. And you have up to 2 alternates. You don't necessarily need to have deep research into potential other host venues in those council districts, but it is a good idea to have an awareness of potential other venues you could do your project in. So I've got 7 as my original, 6 as an alternate, and 12 as my second alternate. Go to the next page of form. The second page, we start getting into details about your proposed residency. If you have, we'd like for you to give you a title to the project, a proposed start date and an end date, and the name of the ideal host venue. This is an additional question that you won't have seen if you applied to this program last year. We're just asking applicants if this question, because we want to remind you to speak with your potential host venue to see if they'd be willing to add you as additional insured on their general liability insurance policy. It's not required for them to do so. If they're unwilling to do so, just that is fine. Check no here. We've become aware of a national insurance program that provides low-cost insurance for teaching artists who do residencies at community centers. A very specific insurance program, and it's very affordable. So this just tells us this is one way for us to know if you host venue is providing this for you, or if you need additional information on providing or getting liability insurance, which is a requirement should you receive the grant. Next thing we would like to know is the host venue's address and the approximate date of the culminating event. Again, all of these dates are estimated. We know you're planning this out more than a year in advance, so don't feel tied to these dates. They just need to be between the project or the grant period of July 1st, 2018 and June 30th, 2019. The next question we ask is how many artists will be served by the project. This will always be at least 1, which is yourself, and then the numbers that you add in would be if you have collaborating artists working with you. In this sample, I have 2 collaborating artists, so the number is 3. Then we ask for you to estimate the number of participants that you'll plan on working with. And this number needs to be at least 20. And then the next question we ask is the number of audience members do you think you'd be able to have at your culminating event. And if you do get a contract for this, then the minimum required audience members is 40 members of the public. So just remember that when you're filling in this question. And the last thing on page 2 is your signature. So this is a signature that you do with your mouse. This is where the clear button comes most in handy. Let me show you what this looks like when you first look at the form. You place your mouse where you want to start. Click the left mouse button if it's a PC. Click the only mouse button if it's a Mac. Hold it down. And do your best to do a signature. And if you don't like the way it came out, you can click clear and just try again until you get it to look the way you would like it to look. Enter the date that you've done the signature, and then there's one page left to this form. And this next page will be the most intense page to fill out. This is the narrative section of the grant application. There are 8 questions here. The very first question is, it's basically a summary of your proposed project. The important things to answer with your first question is basically describe who will be involved, that is a little bit about yourself, what the residency will consist of, when the residency will take place, where the residency will take place, and how the residency will be conducted. Just use summary information for this question. Each of the following questions will be fleshing out each component of this question. So this is where you state that you'll be the lead artist or the only artist, or you'll be the lead artist with collaborating artists. How many sessions will take place, when it will approximately start and end, a basic composition of each of the workshops. And then where it will take place, such as repeat again the host venue. And you're pretty much good with that question. The next question, this is where you go into detail about yourself. What are your qualifications for this project? Or what type of experience do you have as a teaching artist? Have you done this particular type of workshop many times before? Do you have a background as a teacher? Have you done this as independent artist for many years? Have you done this as an artist within another organization? Now you're branching out on your own. Here's where you give the panelists reviewing your proposal confidence that you will be able to complete the project that you're proposing. Question number 3, this is where you describe the short and long-term community benefits that will result from your proposed residency. In addition, you should also note how this residency will benefit your own artistic development. We want to know what you think the impact of this residency will be on the participants and other community members. You'll see with each question that we do provide a word limit that you have to stay in. And as you type words, down here you will see the number of words entered and again the maximum number. So you can see how close you are to reaching your word limit. Following question 3 is question 4. This is where you describe the participants in your project. That is, the people that will be partaking in the work, taking part in the sessions, as well as the audience that will be coming to see the culminating event. So if you're working with a particular host venue, generally this audience is representative of the audience that is served by the host venue. Question 5 is where you describe your collaborating artist if you have any. If you don't have any collaborating artists, this is your easiest question. You just enter no. I will not have collaborating artists. But if you do have collaborating artists, you should briefly describe what their experiences are and why it is that you've selected them to be your own collaborators. Question 6, we want you to describe your relationship with your host organization, how you and your host will work together to successfully complete your project, such as what we're looking for in this question is what you'll be providing for the residency, what the host organization will be providing for the residency, and how the two of you will combine your efforts to make this a successful residency. Having trouble with that word. We also want you to list potential other venues here, and this is where you reflect back to the other council districts that you selected. Make sure that your host venues your alternate host venues that you've mentioned are in the alternate council districts that you've selected. Finally, question 6, we want you to describe the amount of time and money you estimate will be spent on marketing. Question 7 is it's generally about your classroom management skills, your mentoring skills. We ask, how will you generate an atmosphere that encourages artistic expression and ensures active participation? This is where you describe your techniques in leading your workshops and encouraging participation and growth within your participants. Question 8, we would like for you to tell us how you evaluate your project. We want to know that our grantees are always looking for ways to improve their project from one iteration to the next, from one year to the next. So we want to know how you are receiving feedback on your work and how you use that feedback to improve it for the next time that you do the project. And as always, we want you to estimate how much time and money that you use on your evaluation process. Some applicants do surveys at the beginning and end of the project with their participants. Others do a single survey. Others have a post-mortem discussion with their host venue. Whatever it is that you do, let us know what it is that you do. Now, after you've completed the narrative questions, we would like for you to give us a proposed timeline for your project, where you list the number of sessions, the very brief summary of what will take place at each of these sessions. We've got the question here stating list the dates, topics, and objectives. You don't need to know the specific dates, but you do need to give us a good idea of relative dates. So if you're doing a weekly workshop, let us know weekly workshops every Wednesday after 6 o'clock, or something that gives the panel a good idea of what day of the week and what time of day. So you don't need to have specific dates, just a framework for your dates that can easily be understood. List all of your workshops and the topics or objectives of each session, and then list your culminating event. And speaking of the culminating event, a common question regarding this is, does it need to take place at the same location as the workshops take place? Then the answer is no. So long as the culminating event takes place in the same council district as your workshops, then you'll be fine. This completes the application form, which is the largest section of the Artisan Residence application. I'm going to click back to take us back to the other required elements. Most of the required elements from this point forward will be items that you upload or attach to your proposal. The next thing that we'll have you do is a budget for your Artist in Residence project. The budget form can be found by clicking on here or clicking on the Resources tab that I showed you at the top of the page. There's also a sample budget. So let's show you, this is the budget form. It's a PDF form where you can fill in information. It should automatically total your budget. And down here is a large box where you can provide additional notes that you can't fit into the tiny lines for each of the items. We provide a sample for a budget to give you an idea of how to fill it in. I'll show you that sample right now. Where did it go? There. There it is right there. So this is the sample budget. Break down how many hours and how many weeks and how much we'd be charging for that. Now we have two columns. The first column should total to $8,000, which is the grant amount. Anything that is donated or paid through other resources should be listed in the donated column. So if your host venue is donating equipment, or if you're getting donated materials and resources from other parties, then it all goes into this column here. So if you have this notes box down at the bottom comes in really handy if you have donated materials or equipment or supplies. This is where you describe what those donated materials are and who is actually donating them. For all of the elements such as this, where you upload generally PDF or other type of document, it all looks the same. It looks like this right here. This shows what's been uploaded. Let me delete that. Yes, I want to remove it. This is what it looks like. You can just drop a file into that box, or you can click this button and browse and look for the file on your desktop. I'll just do a quick sample right here. So just drop, it'll load, they'll give you a preview. Then you just click back to get back to the actual application. So that's the budget. The next item is your professional resume. And it's important on your resume to show that you have teaching experience and art and actually experience within the discipline that you are teaching. The next section, we ask you to upload resumes of your collaborating artists. If you have no collaborating artists, you don't need to upload anything there. This section here, we ask that you get a letter from your host organization, and they must prepare it on their own letterhead. They need to state their name, the amenities that they provide, will be providing you, such as, well, let's see here. The amenities that are available at the organization, I would say, such as space for your workshop, restroom facilities, and so forth. If they provide custodial service and security. The host organization should describe its current client demographics, and they need to provide additional information on their readiness to partner with you to have a successful project. They should describe if they have any ongoing art programs and cultural services at the facility. We want to make sure that your project is not replacing an existing similar project. We want to make sure that your project is something that is not offered at your host organization. The host organization should, and with that in mind, the host organization should state what you're offering will be different from what they generally offer. And they should describe what they feel the impact of your project will be. They should describe what they'll be providing for your residency, again, such as the space, maintenance and security, if they will be listing you as additional insured, if they'll be providing staff time to help with more marketing and coordinating for the project, so on and so forth. And finally, we would like for them to state that they are committed to help you coordinate, recruit, and enroll a core audience to be participants in your workshop. Your series of workshops, I should say. And this letter should be uploaded right here. Now, each area where we have an upload, we list what types of file formats are supported for that particular upload. Most uploads we accept will be for either GIF, JPEG, Word document, or PDF. After you've uploaded the host venue letter, the next thing that we need will be artistic work samples and supplemental materials and a description of those items. So this form is a description of the artistic work samples that you'll be providing, as well as the supplemental items. We call it the Artistic Work Samples Supplemental Materials Index. There's 3 sections to this. For artistic work samples, we're giving you the option of either uploading up to 10 images or attaching up to 3 web links. The best artistic documentation for artists and residence projects tends to be video footage showing your work within a classroom setting. This gives the panel a confidence that you are able to actively engage a group of participants, keep them engaged in your work, and they are interacting and learning as you teach. Some settings, some community center settings that our previous grant applicants have worked in have privacy concerns. So you do have to be creative with that. You can have images of completed work by the participants. The purpose of the artistic work samples, whether it's images or video footage, is to demonstrate your experience as a teaching artist, not to demonstrate your level of artistic mastery. So keep that in mind. The artistic work samples should demonstrate your quality as a teaching artist. So it should show participants and work created by those participants. So if you're uploading images, which will be in a different section, you provide a caption list here of your images. If you're attaching links, you provide a list describing those links, and the links will be attached right here. You just click how many links you'll be attaching, say 3, and you have 3 different areas where you attach each of your links. The last section is where you provide a similar list of describing the supplemental items that you'll be attaching. And supplemental items consist of materials in a voice that is not your own that help add value to your proposal. Such supplemental items could be letters of recommendation from previous organizations you've worked with, or testimonial letters from participants who have taken your workshops with you before. It could be if you've received a write-up or review in any sort of publication, that would be a good supplemental item. Anything from an outside voice that demonstrates the impact or work that you've done before, that makes for a good supplemental item. After the artistic samples, supplemental materials index, we have the two sections where you upload materials. If you are attaching links as your artistic work sample, then you don't need to upload anything. You can leave this section blank. But if you're uploading images, this is where you do it, right here. If you're uploading images, we recommend that the images be 8 by 10 inches, no less than 72 dpi, and no more than 5 megabytes in size. These work samples will be viewed on tablets and computers and laptops. So the resolution is not, we're not projecting the images. So the resolution isn't so imperative as it is as if it were, say, for the COLA Master Artist Fellowship, where you want to really show detail of your work. This is more about, again, getting the idea across to panelists, the quality of your teaching experience, and the quality of the classroom engagement that you can create. This section here is where you upload your supplemental materials. And we allow for no more than 3 supplemental items, recommending no more than 6 pages. If you have very lengthy supplemental items, chances are panelists reviewing your proposal will only skim through it or read the very first few pages. There are 2 items at the end of the task list. These are surveys. These are not reviewed by the panel. This is information that we use for various purposes. The first survey is the Estimated Service Metrics form. We use information from this form for research for ourselves and to respond to queries from other city departments or outside parties. So if people want to know what type of projects that we have that are working with women or with homeless youth, we use information from this Estimated Service Metrics form to provide our responses. So the first thing we ask for is a breakdown by race and ethnicity of your administrative and artistic personnel and your estimated target audiences. Now, when it comes to administrative and artistic personnel for Artists in Residence grant, that is generally going to be you, the one person, and no more. Now, if you have collaborating artists, 2 collaborating artists like we do have in this sample, then it would be 3 people. And we know that this is an estimate, so just estimate to the best of your ability. Then we want you to provide a breakdown of the age range of your participants, and this includes people taking part in the workshops as well as people who show up for your culminating event. This section here is only pertinent and should only be answered if you have an element of your project that will be broadcast over the radio, online, or on television. Otherwise, or if your part of the project is to publish something and distribute it, That's the only reason to answer this question. Otherwise, you leave it blank. The next section, we want to know how you do your marketing. There's many different options here. And finally, we want to know about workforce development. That is, how many jobs this grant would support. We want to see, we know that at least there'll be one part-time person, that is you, the applicant. If you have collaborating artists, then we expect to see them under occasional, seasonal. And if you have volunteers helping out, they go into this column here. And the last survey, this is our process evaluation form. This is the form that we have all applicants fill out where they describe the actual application process. We use this information to improve the application process from year to year, so please be honest. We want to know what works well, what doesn't work well, what is confusing, what is easy, so that way we can fix up the confusing parts and make it more efficient and smooth for you, the applicant, from year to year. So once you've completed all of the elements that are required, this red text will change from prerequisites not met to, I think it will say incomplete, which is kind of confusing. The other hint that you'll get, this button right here, you will no longer get this forbidden symbol and you'll be able to click it. So once the prerequisites not met disappears and is replaced by another text, and you're able to actually click the Submit Your Application button, then you're able to digitally submit your proposal. Note that once you submit your application, you will no longer be able to edit it. So just make sure you've reviewed and proofread all of your information before you click Submit Your Application. And once you click Submit Your Application, you get a confirmation email that you have completed your digital submission portion of your application. The second part of your submission will be to create the hard copy. And you do that by clicking on Download Submission right here. It'll generate a zip file or a zipped folder of each of the elements that you've prepared and uploaded to the application. In addition to that, it'll aggregate all these elements into one PDF document. And that is a document that we would like for you to print up and turn in as a hard copy submission. Let's click here to access it. This is the zipped folder that was created. You have to extract it all, or I'm not sure what they call it on the Mac computers, but you have to take that step. Here is the folder, and as you can see, this folder has the name of your unique identifier number for your application, GA followed by 10 digits. Not sure what these additional ones are. But you can see all the different elements that were part of this proposal. And then this document down here, this is what we would like for you to print up and submit as your hard copy submission. This can be a fairly large document. This is 20 pages, and it didn't have quite all the materials. So if you upload images, it'll create, I don't know if I have any samples there, but it will create, I do not. If you upload images, it'll create thumbnail versions of the images that you've uploaded. This is a copy for our file, so you don't need to print it in color. It just needs to be black and white. You can print it double-sided. We want you to preserve trees when possible. So print this up, double-sided, black and white, and then mail it to us or drop it off in person by November 1st. And by mail it, I mean have it postmarked by it. We don't need to receive it, but it needs to be postmarked by November 1st, or you can drop it off at the office by November 1st. And that completes your hard copy submission portion of the application. And at that point, your submission is complete. This concludes my portion of the webinar, and we set aside some time to answer any additional questions that you may have. I've been talking quite a while, so I'm going to take a little break here. It looks like there were a few questions, and Alma has answered them. But we do have about 10 minutes, so if you have any additional questions, now is the time to ask them. If you think of any questions to ask us after this 10 minutes, we are available by phone and by email. That information is on the contact information part of the DCA redesign.org/COLA website. I don't see anything being typed here, so perhaps we have answered all the questions for now. So, as I said, if you do have follow-up questions following this webinar, we are available by phone or by email. Oh, there is a question. Regarding the artist work samples, does that include work samples of all collaborating artists? Not really, no. What we're looking for is, again, work samples that document the classroom experience and the end result of the workshops, which would be, if you're doing a performing arts workshop, this would be whatever performance that your participants have put on, or if it's something that culminates in an exhibition, we want to see the culminating work of the participants. So really, artistic work samples should consist of classroom engagement and work created by participants in the workshops. Is there anything additional you'd like to add, Alma? Or?
No. We're available via phone. Someone will always answer, and if we don't answer, we'll return your call. So, yeah, we're available to answer any questions after this webinar. Feel free to check out the guidelines online. They have, the guidelines have really valuable information regarding the types of projects that we're looking for this program.
Thank you for joining us. We look forward to receiving all of your proposals. After you've submitted a proposal, you generally don't hear from us until May of next year, when we notify you on whether or not you've been recommended for a grant. So thank you for taking time out of your day to take part in our webinar. Best of luck.
Oh, there's one more question.
So one more question. What are some examples of successful workshops in the past? So successful residencies in the past. We've had an artist who's done a series of workshops at senior activity centers that teach seniors basic theatrical skills, and they write their own skits or sketches and perform them for an audience. We have another artist in residence who does mask making workshops for at-risk youth in the Central Valley of San Fernando Valley. They're can you go over the zip file process once again? Many thanks. Well, it's fairly straightforward. Once you download the zip file, you place it on your desktop. If you have a PC like I do, you right-click and you get all of these options here, and you click Extract All, and it'll create the regular version of the folder, which is right here. It'll have all the elements, and you're able to open them up and print them as you usually do with documents. So hopefully that's straightforward. I think that concludes our questions. So once again, thank you for joining us. And we are available for any additional questions later on. Best of luck.